We have some new reporting from the Washington Post, a significant effort by the Department of Justice and the White House to gain voting information from at least 9 states and access to voting machines in Colorado. Thankfully, they have been stopped, and in the case of Colorado specifically, by Republican county officials. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's get into this. As we gear up for the midterms here, as it turns out, according to the Washington Post reporting, 9 states have been receiving letters from the Department of Justice. And the Department of Justice is asking them to turn over information about voters. Now, here's the thing. Most states, their voter registration roll is public. You can go online and you can access somebody's name and whether or not they have voted. But they were not asking for this publicly available information. They were asking for things such as driver's license, social security numbers, the private sensitive data, which most states cannot share. It is against the law to share somebody's private information that the government has collected. So the states that have received these letters, according to the reporting, are the Arizona, Alaska, Minnesota, Nevada, New Hampshire, New York, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. In the case of Wisconsin, they told the government to go ahead and just go online and download whatever they could themselves and pay the fee. They weren't even going to hand over the information for free. They said that under the statute, anybody that wants it has to have that fee. 2 states have handed over the voter registration rolls that do not contain the sensitive data. Now, in the case of Colorado, this was a even more aggressive effort to obtain and perhaps tamper with voter information, because the person who reached out to 10 to 12 Republican officials asking for access to the voting machines. This man who reached out is Jeff Small. He used to be the chief of staff under Lauren Boebert, and he is now a consultant. And when he reached out to these Republican county clerks, he said that he was doing this for the Trump administration. He was asking on behalf of the White House for them to give him access to this voting machine, which is a felony under Colorado. These Republican county clerks said no, and basically no way. One of the clerks, Justin Grantham, said that, to me, it felt like they were wanting to intervene before 2026. As we know, midterms are around the corner. That big, awful bill where they are gutting healthcare for millions of people will certainly cost them votes in the midterm. Never mind these Epstein files, certainly cost them votes in the midterm. The tariffs, the increase on prices. I think Walmart just announced they were going to increase prices by 50% in some cases, will certainly affect them in the midterms. I can think of actually nothing Trump has done in these 6 months that would help him in the midterms. So is it any surprise that somebody like Trump, who is trying to always talk about election integrity in the opposite way, is enlisting somebody to go and access the voting records? Also, the CEO of the nonpartisan Voting Rights Lab kind of says the same thing. Samantha Tarazi, CEO of the nonpartisan Voting Rights Lab, says, quote, President Trump and his allies are trying to lay the groundwork to interfere with a free and fair election in 2026. This is obvious what they are doing, and they are being stopped by members of their own party. The Secretary of State in Colorado is now investigating this because of these county clerks, these Republican county clerks, notifying her of what was being done. So Secretary of State Jenna Griswold issued this statement. It's a crime to have unauthorized access to voting equipment, and we will not let anybody have unauthorized access to voting systems in Colorado, and we will hold anybody who attempts to do so accountable. Trump getting caught trying to interfere with our elections. And this has spurred these county officials across states to get organized. There was a conference call where 350 election officials from 33 states had a conference call from lawyers and organizations informing them of their rights and their laws. They are getting informed, educated, and ready to stand up. Because here's the thing. Our democracy is not centralized. That perhaps is something we could be very grateful for in this moment. Because one, voter information is among the states. The last thing we want is for the federal government to have a centralized database because it's more easily hacked. Instead, it is not only just state to state, but it is county to county that our elections are run. I have done voter protection work as a lawyer, and I have helped monitor these elections and called and spoken with county clerks and how they've handled certain ballots based on certain litigation. And people take these jobs very seriously. I am not surprised that these Republicans said, no way, these are my machines, you don't have access to them. Because these county clerks and county registrars, the ones who are in charge of our elections, take this very seriously. And they don't feel beholden to this larger party usually. And thankfully, we still have those who care about what they are meant to do, the role that they are meant to do. Well, here in Colorado, this is a reporter, Kyle Clark, which we have featured quite a bit on MeidasTouch. He has done amazing independent reporting. And because this is his home state, he has some interviews with those Republicans who stood up and said no. Take a listen.
It looks like the Trump administration is trying to get insider access to voting systems in Colorado, perhaps related to their quest to free a former GOP election clerk currently in prison for tampering with election systems. The Colorado County Clerks Association says 10 Republican clerks got an odd request last week from a GOP political strategist named Jeff Small. He's a consultant with the Denver-based 76 Group and a former chief of staff for Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Multiple city clerks say that Small told them that he was working with the White House and that he was reaching out to Republican clerks in blue states to make sure those states were complying with President Trump's executive orders on elections. Small asked some of the clerks whether they would allow a third-party vendor to access their voting equipment to test for vulnerabilities.
And he goes, well, what we're looking for is partnerships to come in and basically try to infiltrate your election system to see if there's any gaps. That is where I was a dead stop. I said, absolutely not.
I told him that the U.S. Constitution didn't give the executive authority to the president to control elections, and that until the Supreme Court ruled that the executive order the president has the power through executive order to manipulate elections, that I wasn't interested in letting anybody access any of my equipment.
Those Republican clerks reported the incident to the State County Clerks Association. Executive Director Matt Crane told us all the clerks followed state law and rejected the request for access.
Important that these county clerks are stepping up and said, look, this is our job. It's not your job. We take this very seriously. We're not going to break the law because of what is federal overreach.
Both Crane, who you heard from there, and the clerks we spoke to said they have never received a similar request like this for access to their voting systems from the federal government. Crane with the Clerks Association says he has spoken to election leaders in other states, and no one else has reported similar requests from the Trump administration to get inside election systems. Full disclosure, that GOP strategist involved, Jeff Small, he used to work at 9 News in a non-journalism role more than a decade ago before he started his career in politics.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.meidastouch.com. All 100% USA union made.